Hi there. How is everyone?
Good
Has
evening, everybody.
everyone come in? Good evening. Yeah, this one is this is a bit of a free flow to answer any questions that you might have. Um, and we've got something in mind as well, just to kind of introduce everyone into or just get everyone thinking about this connectedness of everything, the body, the systems, what we call the fascia. So yeah, we want to open up the floor for any questions and queries, um, or any statements, anything anyone's learned about the body of recent times. And then, if depending on how things flow, we might talk about the connectedness of everything. And yeah, talk about how everything as above, so below, how part of the body is related to another part of the body. So these are the
Interconnected.
things that we're going to touch upon today. So firstly, hope everyone's had a lovely day so far. And does anyone have well, let's start off with, has anyone learned something new since the last time we've been on air? Has anyone got anything to say or anything that they've learned? Um, if we can start off with myself. So of recent times, I've been looking at the body from a different angle. So learning a little bit of this ultrasound thing.
Yeah,
And it's really interesting because a lot of the time, me and Sahu, we're using our hands and we can feel a lot what's going on. And what it has confirmed with me in regards to this ultrasound is a lot of the things that we feel is basically spot on to actually what is happening. And it really shows that, we have so much technology out there. We have MRI, we have ultrasound, we have CT scans. Um, we've got a lot of these physical devices, and with a lot of these physical devices, they will show us a problem. However, even though we can see a problem with these machines, it does not negate the need of a very experienced practitioner. And the reason why I say that is, for example, let's just say we're looking at a MRI. And let's just say the MRI might actually physically show um, the bulging disc. But what we find out is that as we get older, naturally, some people might have a few bulges.
yeah.
But again, the bulges might not actually mean anything in the sense of everyday reality. So you might have a few bulges and then you will never ever know.
Not affecting your everyday
Mm.
life.
Precisely. And then this is where just taking a scan or anything at face value doesn't always give us the answers that we require. And a lot of people get frustrated because they have a pain. They go to the doctor gets them an MRI, and they get really frustrated and they say the MRI didn't show anything, and they get upset about that. When, that's not a reason. You should not get upset if a scan doesn't show anything. Yes,
So
although it
many
doesn't
layers with
mean.
scans as well. So many layers that a scan can observe, and that
Mhm.
scan may not observe the layer which is revealing what you're actually looking for.
Yeah,
That's the other
yeah,
issue, isn't it?
that is. Because a lot of the time now, when you go for a scan, they will only scan one joint at a time.
Yeah.
So you could come here for shoulder pain, and it might be sending pain to your elbow. They're only going to do that one scan.
Mm.
And I think part of that might be, if they start scanning everything, yeah, they're going to see more things that, they probably don't want to see and entertain, because, that would turn one scan into, 5 hours worth of scanning, you know. But yeah, people get disappointed and they get disappointed that the scan didn't show anything.
But I think with the
But
scanning though, and it's showing stuff as well. Because I was chatting to
Mhm,
someone about this earlier on today, and about deterioration over time, and we be
mhm,
having like in the spine, like the same vertebral column that you're showing, the same bulging disc. As you
mhm,
described in the past, through wear and tear, you can have
mhm.
degeneration.
Yes.
But this degeneration is happening naturally because of the
Mhm.
environment that we live. Is
Yes.
every single person literally who lives in the Western Hemisphere and walk on
Mhm,
concrete and have walked on
mhm,
concrete every day and they've done that for
mhm.
over 40 odd years. That's a lot of impact there, you know.
It
That's
is.
a lot. And that's what really we're talking about when you mentioned earlier on how it may not be seeable, but but there's also a thing where only when the structure gets weak, like the
Mhm.
surrounding muscles get weak, the connectivity of everything else around it gets weak, where that becomes apparent.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
It may never
Yeah,
become apparent.
yeah. And now you know you're 100% right. And that's when the true pain will start
Manifests.
because that's when you're going to get a collapse of the whole scaffolding of the system. And now that's when you're going to get real, even bigger bulges. And
Mm-mm.
these bigger bulges will lead to, problems. I was seeing a young lady the other day, and just the amount of weakness she had from the sciatic symptoms. And usually, someone might complain of sciatica, and on one scale, you might find that they're very tight in their lower back. You might find that the sacroiliac joints are tight, etc., etc. And but that's, sometimes that's a level of sciatica which might be kind of on the continuum. So it's not full-blown sciatica. And that's, because of the wear and tear of the joints in the lower back, etc. But what this young lady was exhibiting was not, that wear and tear function. It was almost like a complete weakness, where even just touching the back, it felt like, oh my goodness, where are the muscles? You know, it was like you couldn't even focus on, oh, she's got a lot of tightness. Let's release everything because everything was.
There's no muscle there to even release. It's there, the structure's so weak that I know those
Yeah,
ones there.
and it did tie in with the symptoms, the severe symptoms of almost, that leg
Weakness.
going completely numb, difficulty, moving and stuff like that. So yeah, it's interesting the journey with the ultrasound because what I'm finding is that the hands alone can detect, a lot of problems once you're a trained practitioner. And I suppose where things like ultrasound come more in handy is not telling you stuff you already know and that you can already feel. It's really there to tell you the things that you don't know.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's interesting.
I suppose
And
that'd be for you, isn't it? But for the doctor who sits in the clinic and only looking at that computer and only writing out a prescription using the same computer,
yeah,
having an
yeah.
ultrasound device, because they don't touch, they probably won't be looking at that layer.
No, they,
Most
they wouldn't
apparent
even have
thing,
time.
yeah, the most apparent thing that we would feel superficially or deep, what we would
Mhm,
sense is what they'll be picking up. I suppose there'll be someone like yourself who already feels that, then we'll be looking for something
mhm.
a bit beyond it or looking for where is that originating from.
Yeah, yes, yeah, yeah,
Is
yeah.
deeper mind. It sounds like a lot of
Mhm.
stuff that ultrasound course.
Yeah, no, it's good, and just working to come on the other side of it and to provide obviously more service, give the community more access to these things. It's one of those things that once you know, and
Yeah.
then you share it with others who also can learn as well. But it's just learning and looking at the body just from a different viewpoint.
From an ultrasound level. So anyone
Yeah.
have any queries about even ultrasound? I know he hasn't completed his course yet, and he hasn't yeah, not certificated yet.
Not yet.
But still, I know we all have these scans that we go through, or this thing that we may not understand, or even what ultrasound is,
Hmm.
and the process that is actually why is it important? Maybe these are questions you should ask. You explain anyway, because you have
Yeah.
MRI, ultrasound, the CT scan, X-ray. That's the
Well,
MRI.
yeah. The beauty about the ultrasound and where it's being used more in MSK practice is everything's live. So with everything being
Yes.
live, you can move and you can see how everything's interacting with each other. Whereas MRI is that snapshot, you're in the tunnel.
Is that the only one that can do that?
What's that? The
Be live and move and watch it live.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know you got functional MRIs. That's something I haven't really delved too much into. And I suppose when you're looking at the reason why, it's probably because of access,
The machine's so
you
big.
know. Yeah, and then the cost and so I don't know much people that's been through any other type of MRI apart from, the standard tunneled one, where it's spinning and, taking that whole image of whatever body part they're looking at. But ultrasound, if practical, I can get the device. I mean, I've got a small portable one for one, so I can carry it in a small bag,
Put that in your pocket,
put it in the pocket. Yeah,
out your mobile phone, and look at the body part using your phone.
yeah, yeah.
Jen's got
So
a
yeah, I
question
use.
there.
Oh yes, Jen.
Yeah, you were mentioning about scans. I just wondered about CT scans. I've been
Hmm.
asked to do that. I don't know if you know much about or what that involves, but what's the difference?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked so much into the CT scans, but I know they use it more for fractures and stuff like that. So they might use it, whereas, sometimes the X-ray,
Mhm.
it just might not show clearly. So a lot of the times when you're looking at X-rays and things like even like the hairline fractures, X-rays might not always pick it up, you know.
Mm,
And then,
mm,
there's
Yeah.
always doubt and query. I believe that the CT scan is a little bit better for things like fractures, you know,
okay.
maybe when they're not so obvious. Um, in terms of popularity in all of the scans, probably CT scans is the one that I come across least in terms of patients having reports that they hand me,
Yeah.
X-ray is kind of like the standard, you know, to rule out any, fractures or any major fractures. You can clearly see that in the X-ray.
Mm.
Okay.
MRIs will be looking at more, if really detailed. The MRI is going to show everything. Nothing's really going to hide. And sometimes, like I was saying, the MRI can show a little bit more than what we actually may need, or it might show more than the actual clinical presentation, you
Mm.
know,
Mhm.
especially with the lower back and the bulges.
A good thing.
Sometimes the bulges might mean something or not.
Okay.
That's a good thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then the ultrasound used a lot in musculoskeletal environments like physiotherapy, osteopathy, and stuff like that. And the reason why I like it so much, one is easy to I mean, it's easy to use. It's probably harder to learn, looking at it from a different point of view. But once you learn, you learn. And once you know,
Mm,
you know. So once you get to that level, it's very practical because you can move the structures and then you can see, for example, if there's a little bit of like bursitis, you can see if there's fluid moving into the joint space. You can see
mm,
if there's a little bit more like calcification, like if it's in the shoulder. you can see like partial tears and, you know, even complete tears in stuff. So right now, I'm just learning about the normal anatomy, just getting my eyes used to everything. And then
Okay.
later on, I'll be looking at more conditions. So even in the future, when I start seeing more conditions and recognizing them for what it is, I'll be able to even add more to that question.
Hmm.
Okay. This
Yeah.
is my first time attending this, so it
Mm.
would be helpful just to get an overview as to what the format is and what you cover.
Yeah. In terms of these presentations,
Yeah.
Yeah. I just got the flyer and thought it was
okay.
interesting, having seen the flyer, but I don't know if it's a course and it's, already part way
Mm.
through, or
Oh
if
no,
it's
no, no.
anyone
Because
can join anyway through.
what we're doing, we're going basing it every 2 weeks so far. And what we've been doing, we've been looking at different parts of the body. So what did we do last week?
Lower
2 weeks ago.
lower limb.
Oh yeah, the lower limb. Other times we've touched on we haven't
We done
we
the
haven't
upper
done
limb before that.
yeah, yeah,
We done
yeah, we did.
the upper limb
Yeah.
before that, and I think we may have done like well,
Mm.
we've done the shoulders, the spine, the spinal engine. So
Yeah, yeah.
really, we're going through different parts of the anatomy, not necessarily in an order,
No.
and understanding the energetic connections to it as well, the
Yeah,
psychological, the energy, the emotional, the spiritual
yeah.
ways
Because
enhance
the-
or improve the function or the structure.
yeah, we're trying to tackle things from a more holistic angle. There's so much out there already in terms of if you just want to look at the shoulder as unanimated structure and
Mm.
the basics. But we're covering that like, when we done upper limb, we cover, the muscles, the bones of the upper limb. But so who then added a twist to, the metaphysical nature, and
Mm,
we're looking at stories like Buddha or Jesus carrying the lamb over the shoulder and, Atlas carrying the weight of the world. We can see there is a connectedness to these principles and even what the ancient people understood in connection to our body. And we know that, our body is not just one dimensional. There's so many dimensions to the body. And when we really truly appreciate these dimensions, do we understand not just about the body, but through life as well? So,
mhm,
in my journey, and so whose journey as practitioners, it's not just about learning about the body for just learning about the body, because when you learn about the body, it's actually more than that. It actually, like anything we do well in life, whether it's a musician or a practitioner, we're essentially learning about God, the universe, the creator, when
Yeah,
we're learning about the body.
understand. Thank you.
Can
Right.
I can I just add something?
go
As
for
a
it.
participant, what I
Mm,
get from this on these cycles that I've joined is more awareness of my body,
mm,
understanding more of how it's working. Um, Things may occur. I have some idea of what I'm going to target. So the lower limbs, understanding the muscle structure. If I want to massage that area myself, then I know where I'm targeting and where the response is going to be. Um, Also, recently I was unwell back in July, and we did something about our bowels, and that gave me an indication that I wasn't well. That is the thing that got me to pick up 111 and to say, well, you know what, I think I'm ill today and I need some advice. So these sessions that we have is making us more aware of our body, and you then care for it better because you have a greater understanding. And that is what I get out of these group sessions, and it's been really helpful because I don't think if I didn't have we didn't have that section on the gut, I wouldn't even be recovering so quickly. And plus I do qigong and tai chi, and I can tell you this from what the doctors have said, if I wasn't doing what I was doing, I probably wouldn't be here today talking.
Wow.
So these sessions are free, but they're a gift to all of us, because we grew up in a society where we have a health system that doesn't educate us. When we go to them, they give us a plaster. That plaster comes off, but there's nothing else to put on top. So we need to take more control of what's happening to us, so we can ask the right questions, understand what they're saying to us, because when they start talking, we can't pick up any sense out because we don't understand the words they're using, because we're not familiar with the body parts. So these sessions are really, really helpful. And as I said, it's a gift. And I give thanks for that gift I get every day, because I know with my recovery, it's been quite quick from where I'm coming from to where I am today. It's been a really quick journey because I'm putting things into measure, because I know this is what I need to do to get to the next point, from A to B to C. So these sessions are really helpful. That's my response to the young lady who
Well,
was talking.
anyone else got something to say since you start that one? Thank you very much. A nice bit of clarity there from what we try to express, the knowledge we're trying to pass across. So we're always asking if there are questions. If there's something that you don't understand, we can hopefully.
And the CT scans has different benefits, because a CT scan, if they do it in the thorax area, which is your stomach, your gut, they can get 3D images in different colors. If you take the fluid that they give you, then they can get that in color in 3D, and they can look at multiple organs and give diagnosis through that as well. And must be aware that CT scans can have reactions. You need to discuss that with and know what your health is like.
Yeah, because they inject you with something, they say, to be able
Iodine.
to see. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well,
They
would you
do.
like to elaborate indirectly? Or should I do that?
Who's that to?
Mum, should I elaborate on that one there?
Yeah, go on.
Because that dye that you're referring to there,
yeah,
depending upon your health condition or what's going on in your blood system, what condition you actually have, it can have adverse effect on your body. So you can have like overheating or certain parts of your body stripping from the generation of the heat and the dye inside your body. So if you have a blood condition, so these are just something to be mindful of, not discussed. I think if people experience it, let's say between the legs, between under the armpits, in folds, you know, if you have a belly and then the tissue fold over, that can also, in that space there, just like in between the legs, can cause a similar kind of condition. And I don't think that's really discussed, that one there, the adverse side effect. But from when you don't have a blood condition, I think generally like sepsis or something, I think we're probably okay with that. But very effective though, as I remember now, how when you see the scan, it's like a moving image. It looks better than an MRI actually.
And you can always get your records through freedom of information. That's another thing that people are not aware of. If you go to hospital, you have a right to see that file, and you can request it via freedom of information at their maybe pals or whoever is controlling that particular, but the patient liaison will help you, assist you to get that information by filling in forms. And so you can get these files, you know, if you feel that something's
access request.
Yes, you have to do a freedom of information.
access request. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's something that they send to you that you have to fill in to send back, isn't it?
You have to ask them for it. You have to specify that you want to do a freedom of information, and they'll provide the information
Yeah.
within a given period.
Yeah, so when I was in the NHS, we would we would receive a request from the patient, whether it was email, but usually it will be our HR team contacting us, and they will say, make sure this patient wants this information about this, and they will basically ask if it's okay for us to release the notes, just basically making sure everything's finished, and everything's in a presentable way to then send off back to the HR team that will send it to the patient. And there's a time limit. There is a time limit. I forgot the time limit. I think the time limit might be,
It
I
must be
would
30
say
days.
28 days or
Yeah, it
something
must
like
be like
that.
within that time period there.
Yeah.
30 days upon receipt of your request.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Even though we would probably
These are the
send
sort of
the
things that we
next
need to be
week.
aware of, um, so that we can get the best out of the system. Because sometimes it's not, you want to move this information on to take care of yourself privately, whether it's another doctor or another hospital, but you want to take control of your care.
Hmm.
Yeah. Or you want to be actively involved
Yeah. Yeah.
in your rehabilitation or your care. That's what it really is, active
It
involvement.
is.
And with that one
And
there, hopefully we shouldn't even need to do Freedom of Information Act. We just ask for the thing or the scan or the information and they just send it to you. But in just in case that don't happen, we got the additional bonus of utilizing a technique like
I
that.
think
After that, you have to apply for it because they're not going to give you,
But each
because
borough have a different approach, you see, and each healthcare system, because they're all independent hubs. Like St.
and
Bart's
it
is
it
an
really
independent hub to separate to Lambeth or to St. Thomas's so the whole
yeah.
country, each is like there's small miniature NHS units. It's weird under the one big banner, and these different units. Each sub unit can do their own thing. They have their own control within even the bigger NHS system of the country. And that's why there's so much
Mhm.
diversity and problems because they don't follow the same protocol. It's like being in America and having peer states, and one state you can get hanged, and the next state you can't. Literally, jump state and you're good. And it come like that with the NHS. You jump to another NHS borough, and you get all your information, and it's no problem.
And
It's no
it does
problem.
depend on what information you're requesting as well, because as a physio, I've never had to all the information, the physio information I need from the clients, I've always been able to get.
Mm.
It's just that simple. But then if someone's had cancer treatment somewhere and, something maybe not wasn't quite correct, and they want to kind of investigate and see, well, really what happened, that's where these are the cases where you might see that they're requesting the information. Or even if, let's just say, as a physiotherapist, I'm part of a multidisciplinary team, then they might request the information, basically, not specifically that they might need the physio's information, but they want everything related to a patient,
Mm.
you know. So this is where it differs. But, as a physio doing general MSK stuff, I can get all the information I need. And then sometimes the information might not even be that handy anyway,
Yeah,
because
I
the
think
assessment.
that isn't it about asking
Mm,
question to start off with. Obviously, hopefully it wouldn't get to that stage where you've got to do a freedom of information request because it's about communicating. And I think people have to have the confidence to be able to ask questions. If you've had a scan done and then you're called back to an appointment, and the consultant says, well, I see X, Y, Z. It's, well, can you show me? Can you explain it to me? It's, feeling confident enough to be able to ask that question
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
first instance. And it's in the event that you're not getting any explanation that then you might want to take it further.
I- See, I do look, personally, I do look at freedom of information or patient requesting it as always like something that's later on down the line or a bad thing.
Yeah,
Kind
yeah,
of, it
Yeah.
depends on the scenario. When the
yeah,
case is so big, it might just be easier for a case manager or someone just to get all the information and compile everything together, you
yeah.
know. So I think it's a good thing that, patients can get that information
Yeah,
within
they
that
should be
time.
aware, most definitely. But
Yes,
And
you're
it aids
correct.
the
In that
healing
awareness,
process.
isn't it?
It impairs the healing process when we don't have proper clarity, or that we feel that we've been misled, or that information we're receiving isn't the full. It's like it plays on the mind, and all those things there slow down the healing process.
Mm.
It's to have a calm, relaxed mind, which allows the healing process to actually enhance or speed up or work
Mhm.
normally. So all those things that we're talking about there is really going to impair the recovery tremendously.
Yeah, yeah,
This is what
and
we're
even
trying to avoid.
yeah, and even if you're talking about it on a simplistic level, as you're saying, in terms of just the understanding of what's going on. So when a person comes to see a healthcare practitioner, they should, at least, if they don't know anything else, they should at least understand what the problem is. And if they don't come out understanding what the problem is, at least understand what other channels they can utilize to understand the problem a little bit better. And that just comes with communication. That's for practitioners not to use these big words,
Just
to talk in layman's term, be, very concise and clear.
keep it simple. You know, the other day I had a client who had bowel cancer. So he had an operation and everything, and then he had issues with his pelvic floor, and he's gone and done this privately. So he's gone through the whole operation and through the whole process privately. And we was talking about the pelvic floor, and when I was explaining it to him, he was surprised. He was surprised that he didn't. Because I asked him, "Do you know what the pelvic floor is actually?" And he's like, "No, I don't." So when I explained it to him, and I bring out the model and I described it to him very briefly, he's like, "Now I understand." They didn't even explain to him that the pelvic floor, when you're going toilet and you're preventing yourself from weeing, that's an activation of the pelvic floor. So
Mm,
not even a simple explanation like this was given, and he's gone through many consultants. I know he had bowel
mm,
cancer, but because these areas are so closely linked, and the way in which this stuff can apply additional pressure when that stuff expands onto the pelvic floor or the pelvic basin, it can cause
mm,
strain or tear of these areas there, and it
mm,
cause other organs. And a simple thing like this, when he was explaining that to me, I'm like, wow, they never explained to you the anatomy that you use so freely. When he's talking about he's got pelvic floor issues, I'm like, he said it so like he know exactly what he's talking about. And I think it's this. Um, it's either explained just off the fly, or it's the diagnosis is expressed with trying to convince.
mm,
This is how the thing is. So it's not really not an explanation. It's more of you being told the situation,
mm,
which makes a huge difference in even the healing process. Being aware of what's going on. It's this mental conflict. But then with that now, you feel as if there's part of the story hasn't been told, or that you're not
mm,
aware of certain things. And all this again, for me personally, impair the healing process. We need to make sure the mind is calm and balanced when you're experiencing extreme turmoil and stress, trauma. It's the hardest thing to do, but it's one of the most important things to focus upon.
mm.
Not having the cycle of thought Man, I've got endless stories because I'm saying, and I'm talking this air. I've got so many examples of people who are told something by their doctor. They enter into a cycle of thought, but the cycle of thought they've entered into is because of what the doctor said. But that cycle has prevented their development, prevented their
Mm.
growth. That just the thought, and it's hard to recalibrate the thought because in most cases they don't realize that they've a thought has been implanted into their mind, and they've
Mm.
just taken the seed and grown it, constantly adding water to it every day, the same thought, and it's subconscious. It's not it's at the back of the mind. It just comes up. It's
Mm.
like something you don't want to when we deal with the shadow self, the stuff that hides in the dark. Some of these thoughts and feelings, we don't want to bring them to the front.
Yeah, yeah. And it does make you wonder when they say that the skin cells, repair itself every X amount of months. You've got a completely new set of skin cells, you
Yeah.
know,
What is
repair.
7 years? A whole body.
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah. Basically, if we want to say just the whole body,
Move
then
on to the whole thing. 7 years, you
yeah,
got a whole new body. Every
mm,
cell. Even what you're saying, they take a biopsy of a cancer, a tumor, and then
mm,
they do a test on it. When they, let's say, do it again, like a month later, the same tumor, and they can do a biopsy and take that and test that tumor. They find that the cellular configuration, the way in which the DNA material, the tumor, the different tumor. It's like it's a different tumor. It's like a tumors, and they show this through ultrasound. Tumors are constantly recreating themselves. It's not like you get one tumor, yeah, and it's the same material matter all that time. Those cells in the tumor are regenerating, are replacing themselves.
mm,
It's a profound thing when you look at it on that level, to
yeah,
say that even yeah, they're doing that as well as organ, nails, hair,
yeah, yeah.
eyes.
And then the question is, if everything's replacing itself, why do our conditions remain the same?
That's the catch.
And yeah,
That's a good one.
and I definitely feel that is because of this, it's, the things that are a little bit beyond the body, like, the mentality, how our DNA is expressing itself, because it's like a schema. Our DNA is constantly instructing our body how to express itself. And this is where, you can see it clearly in the mindset that people who are very open-minded, they can learn things, they can adapt, they can literally change their whole way of life just overnight. You know, when you're looking at people who are very successful, these are people who are always going to be open-minded people. When you're looking at people that have healed themselves from certain conditions and that, again, there's a certain openness. And what I find in practice, especially conditions that, take more of a physical toll on the body, I will find that it's having to work with the belief system of the clients and working on the belief system in a way which helps them actually to start beginning the healing process.
Always that.
Because if you've got something, it is,
Always the
yeah,
mental. It's always the minds that we have to make sure is we touch.
yeah. And you can see anyway with people that heal a little bit quicker anyway. These are the ones that are going to do exactly what you say.
Yeah.
They're going to be the ones who are going to be rigid, and then there's not going to be an excuse with the program that you've given them. They're just going to do it. And, I find this a lot with, athletes anyway, because the same mindset that made them an athlete is the same mindset which is going to help them recover
Them.
from any injury.
Yeah, definitely. And it's all about mindset, isn't it? A bit of
Mm.
resilience, a bit of resilience, Because when you get that initial trauma, that initial shock, the shock of the idea of the injury or whatever you're trying to resolve, that's a bit of
Mm.
resilience there. And then once you get through that stuff there, then it's all about what you say. We got to just be able to commit to the process.
Yeah, yeah.
And I find
And the,
myself sometimes convincing, doing some additional convincing as well about because the pain is a funny thing. The pain
mm.
that we get has a serious adverse effect. So you're saying that, Sir Alan? You have a question there, Alan?
Yes, Ahu and
Yes.
Chris and everybody. Hi. I couldn't find the thing on where you raise your hand to do the question.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, it's only a quick one. You mentioned about earlier about X-ray
Mm.
and ultrasound,
Mm.
and you said an X-ray gives you a lot of feedback, visual feedback, and you can't go wrong. Or all is there with an X-ray.
Mm.
And somebody mentioned a CAT scan and an MRI scan. But all of these, the three facilities, you need a lot of equipment. And I saw who mentioned about an ultra scan. It's like having a mobile phone. You've got your own personal gadgets to do the ultrasound.
Beautiful.
But
Mm.
what does an ultrasound measure? And the feedback from an ultrasound, um,
Mm.
can you have a visual feedback on the parameters that it's measured from its diagnostics, or is it? I don't know how ultrasound works. Is it almost like a
Yeah,
like
no,
a frequency, like a radar frequency that measures
yeah,
tissue or whatever?
it is. It is. You're correct. I mean, firstly, with X-ray, X-ray is
Thank you.
it shows things, but we use it mainly for identifying fractures. It's just they're in the
Black and
hospital.
white.
They said a full. We use it for fracture and rule out a fracture because that can cause a lot of problems. You know, in a lot of instances, it can cause more problems than soft tissue injuries. We want the bones to be okay. Yeah, so it doesn't go into any great detail about anything else. We, from my clinical practice, the time I see it used is to rule out fractures, mostly. Now, ultrasound is what it does. It uses the sound waves. So you've got like these electrical crystals, piezoelectric crystals. And once the voltage is sent, they move, they cause that mechanical sound wave. And these mechanical sound waves hit the object, and then it bounces back to the transducer of the ultrasound. And it understands what it's hitting, or it creates an image based on how dense what it's hitting is. So if it go through the soft tissue
Mm-hmm.
and it hits the bone, a lot of it is going to be reflected back. Not a lot is going to go past that bone. When it hits the soft tissues now, it will hit the soft tissues, a bit will go back, then a bit more will go past the soft tissues into deeper soft tissues, and then a bit will go back. And every layer that's coming back, that's creating the image that we've seen through the ultrasound. Yeah, so it is really by sound waves. That's what it is. But it's sound waves that are sped up so fast that we can't even hear it. Because if it was very
Ultra,
slow, we'd be able to hear it. Yeah. So
ultrasound.
that's how, yeah, that's why they call it ultrasound. So it is literally the sound waves hitting and reflecting back to the transducer. And there's so many things, it can get a little bit deeper than that, but that's essentially simply what it is. Does that make sense, Alan?
Yeah, yeah. I guess from where I'm understanding it, it's similar to a radar, you
Yeah,
know. but it's using sound instead of you know, um, so
No,
it's but
a
but
radar
but
uses
once
sound. I'm sure a radar uses sound as well, innit? Like sonic, it uses the same sonic kind of sound, no? Like a submarine radar or something you're talking.
yeah, I guess some radars can use like sonar
Yeah.
as
Well,
a
with,
sound.
with
Yeah,
sound
but
travels better in water
mm, mm.
than it
but
does in air.
but what I'm trying to get at is once on the ultrasound, once
Mhm.
the signal comes back to you, yeah,
Mhm.
can you diagnose what's going on from the information that you've received from
Yeah,
that ultrasound?
definitely. Because things will appear different. So some structures might appear a little bit more black.
Mm.
Some structures might appear like reverberating. Some structures might you might see whiteness in it, like calcification. Some structures you might see a kind of whitish kind of tinge to it. And based on all of these things and based on the understanding of the anatomy in the area, you will understand what's going on. So a lot of fluid appears a little bit darker. So you might see that as, a bit of inflammation or a bit of swelling in the area. And then you can see the tissues. So might see a little bit more white for the calcification of tissues. You might see that when you're moving, there might be parts that are not moving as fluidly, so you can see, you understand what's happening based on how it appears. But then at the same time, you've got to, on this is another level, the practitioner has always got to look at whether the sound is tricking them.
Yeah. That's what I
Based
thought Alan
on,
was alluding to when he was just asking the question earlier on. Because how can you tell if the image can it be interfered with?
yeah, I mean, simply, it could hit a structure because the ultrasound, it makes a lot of assumptions that everything is in this perfect condition and that the sound is traveling nice and smooth and bouncing back nicely. But sometimes the sound can bounce and then it can go somewhere else. And
Mm,
then when it bounces and goes somewhere else, that can make it appear as if the problem is somewhere else.
mm,
But the practitioners are very aware of this. So if they see something reverberating, they're not like, oh gosh, this person's got an extra bone here.
mm.
They're like, okay, this obviously the echo because this person, no one has two of this bone,
And you can
you
feel
know.
it. You're present.
Yeah, well, yeah, you could do that as well.
I feel a third bone in the forearm.
But again, then the quality of the machine that you use is gonna give a different quality output. Hence why you can get an ultrasound machine which costs £3,000 and some that cost 50 grand,
Yeah.
you know.
But there's a lot of use for this ultrasound. I've
Yeah,
watched
and
them use it a lot in Chinese hospitals and
yeah,
practice in Beijing with
mm,
tumors again and doing qigong and having an ultrasound device watching and looking at the actual tumor. 3 or 4
mm,
people, like if their hands are over and deep breathing and doing a movement like something like this, breathing and emitting energy chi from their palm, and you see the tumor, like they say it like this, and it just comes so, it just comes so, it just comes smaller until the thing just to the like to the size of the surrounding tissue, let's say. And I've seen this,
mm.
and this is mainly worked on in the 90s, these stuff that I was watching years ago. Years ago,
Well,
it must be still available on YouTube.
well, that's the beauty of ultrasound because the learning from like anything, it's hard to learn from a novice point of view. But
Mm,
practitioners that's been doing it for so long anyway, they've gone past that hurdle of learning, and now it is actually very it's easy for them to use in a way which is very practical.
Yeah, directly.
Yeah, because they don't have to wait until you go into a machine. They don't have to keep still. You can move. They can use it when they want. They can use it before and after treatment.
Mm.
You can test it and use it in so many different varied conditions. They can use it immediately after an injury if they wanted to, like
On site.
literally, yeah, on site, or they can use it 6 months. It's so, flexible in how it can be used, so you can gather a lot of information from it.
Yeah, that answer your question there, Alan.
Yes, it gives a lot of information.
Yeah.
Of course, the other side of it was that the other traditional big machines, um,
Mhm.
they give you feedback. But also with the ultrasound, does
Mhm.
that penetrate the area that you're aiming at, and does
Oh
it
yeah,
get
yeah,
into the tissue and you know as a healing method rather than as a diagnosis method?
yeah.
Interesting.
I've got the healing machine right there.
That's an
There. So that's not diagnostic. It hasn't got a screen. It's not going to tell me anything, but it works. And it works by, let's say it works better on chronic conditions because all you're basically trying to do is create that environment where you turn a chronic condition into a more acute condition in a sense where you're kind of allowing it to go through that re-information process. So if you think of like a cold tissue, let's say like a strain that's been, past 6 months, and now you start putting an ultrasound on it and you're getting those same waves that are penetrating the skin, hitting the tissue, and that repeated hitting of the tissue with the waves is gonna warm it up. And that warming up is then gonna allow it to loosen up and kind of go through that re-inflammation. And this is why you can use the machine, and I can touch the head and the head will be cold. But then the person will get the warmth because it's not warming up, the head is not warming up. It's the actual waves that are hitting that tissue which is warming up. And I find, it good in condition where if I was to, let's say, use my hands, it might cause too much aggravation. But then if I use that, it's not going to cause too much aggravation, but you can dose it a little bit easier, put in the area, and then that will help with the healing process rather than me breaking down the tissues, etc. And I'm not saying you can't, still do manipulation and try and break down the tissue. I'm just saying in something which is a little bit more sensitive, that's where you can find a little bit more use. But even with ultrasound has been there for so long. People are really gone to ultrasound's kind of younger grandson, which is things like shockwave therapy, you know. So when you're looking at the cost of the machine, the ultrasound and the shockwave machine, a shockwave is like 10 times more expensive. And people might use that for like tennis elbow, golfer's elbow. And yeah, it's really effective.
What is a
Um,
shockwave machine?
a
Or
shockwave
is it same ultrasound?
is same ultrasound technology, but just yeah, just much more powerful, you know.
Longer
And
wavelength.
from the waves, it's just a lot more mechanical stimulation. So you can even use it if you had a fracture, let's just say, and you use that shockwave, that you're gonna feel a lot of pain. So there's a lot of cases where people's had fractures, not big fractures. These are ones that they didn't know they had. They've used the shockwave and they've got a lot of pain, you
Mm.
know. And then because of that mechanical stimulation, they've learned that they've got a fracture. Or the practitioner's been like, oh, well, this is an abnormal amount
Response.
of pain. There must be something else going on there.
Yeah, abnormal response to an area that should be quite straightforward.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, the
But yeah,
interesting ones.
it's nice. It's good for things like plantar fasciitis, tennis elbow, a lot of tendon problems. It's really good for.
Thank you. Any other questions there?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, maybe in the future I'll do something on ultrasound. I've got enough data in it. Let's just say that
Oh, yeah.
you understand that when you see images and diagrams, yeah, talking about it is one thing, but you will get it when you see images on how sound waves are moving, etc. So yeah, that will be a future one.
Yeah, that'd be yeah, that'd be good to see. Get a bit of deeper clarity on that one there. Yeah, so any other part of the anatomy or any other part of the structure, as we are oh, we never said that would be possibly finishing a bit early today, about 9 o'clock mark, which is 9 o'clock now. But any questions or anything that's on your mind?
Yeah.
Hmm?
Questions or comments, what you've learned, anything.
Before we yeah, because I think we're going to finish up quite soon. And then before we do that, I think Christos is going to give us a nice explanation of what's going on over the next few weeks.
Yeah. So I had to slide the ultrasound to give a finishing statement. So yeah, I am very heavily into the course at the moment. I've got to heavily commit myself. So we're gonna have a little bit of a break, and we're gonna have that break until basically I finish the toughest part of the course. So I will be fully finished that tough part. Everything should get easier from this part, but we're looking at the mid-December mark. So that's officially the 12th of December. I've got an exam, the practical exam. I've got coursework, and I've got to learn all the anatomy of the body from an ultrasound visual point of view. And yeah, that's gonna take me out of the rest of the game of life up in
You got to focus your mind for a bit.
yeah,
When you're learning new information, gosh, to learn multiple stuff simultaneously, it's a misuse of energy.
yeah.
Respect the knowledge you're learning and focus on it.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that when we learn things generally, it's we can always relate something to something else. It's that visual part of the ultrasound where you have to kind of adjust your mind to another view. As me and Sahu were, we know the anatomy from that visual point of view. We know the anatomy from the touch point of view, but learning the anatomy from you know, sound waves,
Point.
rebounding, everything in grayscale, everything looking very similar at the start
But
anyway.
it's interesting, Christos, you say that because you have the sound, your eyes are adjusting to sound waves.
Yes.
You have the technology where your eyes are adjusting to electromagnetic waves, the MRI scan. Then you have um
But
ain't the CT scan light waves?
uh I mean it's some type of electromagnetic wave.
That's what I was thinking. I'm sure it's well, I suppose the electromagnetic would be still a light
But
wavelength.
I do practically CT scans, I do get a lot of people with these reports. I
I think
usually
because as well, because it's also with the internal organs, looking at
hmm,
the liver, looking at the lungs, and looking at
yeah,
the lungs through the various sections, and you're watching it like a movie through that
yeah.
part of your anatomy. I think it's probably you're not working on that level there.
No,
I think it's
no.
just that reason why you don't see as much of that.
yeah. It is literally just X-ray, and a lot of the times I do see the X-rays. It's kind of a ruling something out. So not even the patient will have the X-ray. If it's a fracture, they will have the X-ray, definitely. Usually, they would, I think the NHS, they would sell it for £10 or something like that. But, smartphones, everyone's just, doctor, let me see the X-ray, taking a picture on their phone.
Yeah, yeah.
MRIs, yes. You would see the report. Again, it's a consultant that will break down the information. And with the consultant's report writing, and from what you can see, you can put the two and two together. But that's usually what the consultant will interpret, because again, that requires a level of skill to be able to know the anatomy and look at it from that point of view. Then you've got the ultrasound, which a lot of physios and osteopaths or sports doctors, etc. That's the one that you will see more in the practical clinical setting compared to the other ones anyway. MRI is too big to have in this clinic. Um, X-ray, you have to look at even the radiation, and again, you
Yeah,
know,
unproductive. There's no negative side effects from ultrasound.
well, no, well, that's what they say. I mean, the two main ones is because of the sound waves, they
Yeah,
can create a level of mechanical heat to an area.
but that
Um,
mechanical heat can be seen as that not a healing effect, or is that
well, with the diagnostic one, that's what you wouldn't want anyway. Yeah,
right?
so with the
Change
diagnostic
the
one,
tissue.
you don't want no heat, or you don't want it to, it's only to tell you what's happening.
Mm.
With the therapeutic one, you want to avoid the heat.
Well, it's interesting because
You
they
can
must
get,
be at two different wavelengths.
I mean, they are definitely different wavelengths, because when you're looking at, let's say, the shorter the wavelength, like if it's let's say 1 megahertz or something, the further it penetrates, but the less clarity of the image. The higher the wavelength, the more superficial, but the more clear the image. In musculoskeletal, you would use more of the short wavelength to look at the superficial structures. Now, if you start like putting the probe, let's say in the glute or whatever, and you're trying to go deep,
The
the
performance.
probe, yeah, the piriformis or anywhere in the glutes around the area, because of the level of tissues and the fat and etc., it's not going to show as much as the shoulder, for example. So then it has this limitation depending on your machine as well, where most MSK probes we're still looking inside, but that's why we're using it on the joints a lot of the times, because it's easier to penetrate the joints, because there's not a lot of things going on in the joint. There's not a lot of fat blocking the shoulder image. But you stick that somewhere like the glutes, or you try and do something deep in the abdomen, that's when a musculoskeletal probe is not going to be handy.
Mm. Need to change
And when we're looking at
wavelength.
yeah, so that's like the negative aspect of, let's say, the ultrasound, which never really happens. You don't hear of much cases where people's got burnt by the diagnostic ultrasound. But with the therapeutic one, because it's more therapeutic, there's a lot more waves. That's why you're always moving it.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you just leave it there, now that's when you're starting to get a lot of mechanical heat building up. And that's when it can start to burn. But again, even so, even when I've used it myself in the area for a little bit longer without moving it much, I found that it hasn't, it's definitely warmed up, but by the time it's warmed up sufficiently enough, I know kind of, I need to stop now. I'm not going to leave it on and it actually burn me, you know.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's not, I don't think it's easy to burn yourself. However, if you're using it on clients, some might be more sensitive than others, then you wouldn't take that risk.
And that's the blood. That's the blood. That's the blood again. That's the
Yeah.
lymphatic system. That's how acidic the blood
Mm,
is. I would say this that being a potential problem if there's gonna be a problem. That's
yes,
the only
yeah,
thing, really, you know. We forget about the water and the liquid that is constantly moving in the body, and that these devices are passing through pure blood vessel. You may not be seeing no blood vessel,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's passing through blood vessels and it's reflecting, and it depends even how the blood circulation is. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. But yeah,
Well,
so,
thank you,
yeah, no,
Chris. That was a lovely breakdown. I didn't even realize it was going to go deep into the ultrasound stuff today.
no, 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 did I. It's a good thing I've been studying it
Yeah,
then.
yeah, and it does give you a chance to actually, express the knowledge,
Mm,
that you've learnt and taken on.
yeah, and I'll have some live demonstration for Alan in the future.
That'd be brilliant. And yeah, because there's so much stuff we can do with this,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
assessing areas change or transform in real time. That would be really impressive to observe.
That's what I'm really interested in.
So what are you saying
You
then,
know.
Christoph? So we're back in December.
Yeah, let's see here until December, but there's only 11 weeks left for 2023. Gosh, I think it's going to be a Christmas
That's what I
rush.
mean. If you do your exam on the 12th of
Yeah.
December,
Mhm.
before you know it, it's Christmas.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
It is true. So yeah, no, I think it might be a Happy New Year thing then.
It'll be because the 12th, I think, would have been, or around that time, would have been the last date we had scheduled already.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That would have
So
been
does
yeah,
that mean that there's no other sessions then on Eventbrite? I think there was one for the 26th. Does that mean that doesn't happen?
yeah, yeah. We postpone that one
Oh,
and
so this is
and
my first and last until the new year then.
you know, you're coming. Yeah, but at least you get. They're on the YouTube.
yes,
The,
they're all
the
there.
old videos that we've done, all the other videos or the presentations that we've done, because we've done presentations on the electric universe, on sound wave, light therapy, sound therapy. We've done lectures on quite a few different topics on in the healing arts itself.
Okay.
Yes, so go to the
Okay.
Time Future TV.
Okay.
You get a
All
I'm
right.
chance
Thank
to
you.
catch up.
I'm gonna copy
Thanks,
the
guys,
link
and
here
good luck
for
with the
you.
studies.
Let me copy the link for
In the
you.
first Tai Chi class, you go through.
Just so it's easier. Where is it? Where's the chat? So paste. Yeah, that's the one there. Yeah. So if you copy that link or click on that link, you'll be able to see all the rest of them. And yeah, there's more than enough to take you to the new year.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
All that stuff
All
we
right.
covered, yeah. You know, we went quite deep in all these different topics, and yeah, we need to go back into it because half of the information I know is not fully taken on board.
Yeah.
Yeah, we put a lot of information out on
Yeah,
these presentations.
and we're also going to use the time just to reflect on, how we can, make things a little bit more accessible because I know this year there's some people that have been struggling to get into the chat for some reason. So yeah, we're going to take the time to review a few things, make it sparkle a little bit better.
Come back stronger and better in the new year. Look
Yeah,
forward to it.
this is the plan. This is
Great.
the plan.
Thanks very much, Guy.
You're
Well,
welcome.
I
All
thank you
right.
Bye-bye.
for joining
Bye-bye.
us.
Bye.
Well, thank you all. Yeah, we'll see you in the new year. Definitely Happy New Year and all your holiday festivities. I know it feels very early, even in October.
You're talking, we just haven't even hit autumn yet.
No,
Hold on.
but it just shows how, quick time flies because that 12 weeks,
Yeah,
it's gonna go quick.
yeah.
Because we're in October, mid-October, we've only got November, December. December's gonna go quick. So we've got 6 weeks of normal life.
And I think that we'll end up when we come back in the new year, we'll come back with a different reorganized schedule. I don't think it will be a
Yeah.
continuation from what we had planned, like to say we were going to do biotensegrity and the fascial network next time round. I think it will be a whole new schedule for probably for 4 months or 6 months. So
Yeah,
we
yeah.
will evaluate all that stuff and let everyone know on the Eventbrite. And actually, I'm going to amend all that stuff on Eventbrite.
Mm. Yeah, stronger than New Year.
So what was the topic for today?
Well, the topic, there wasn't really a topic. It
All
was,
right, I see. Okay.
yeah, it was kind of opening the floor. Because what we was starting to do at the beginning of the ending of this year, we wanted to do one topic and then one general discussion, open the floor, then a topic, etc. So we was going to move through that pattern, but again, now in the new year, there might be a totally different new pattern.
Yeah, but we was only doing that pattern to balance out the extra workload that you was having.
Yeah, yes,
That's the only reason why we was going to adjust that pattern and apply that. But in the new year, I don't think we'll be doing that.
no,
Got
no,
some
no.
other guys coming in talking on mental health as well.
Mm,
Uh, for men mental health. We got
mm,
some that all has to get rescheduled. With some anyway. I think
yeah,
we're all right.
yeah.
Thank you, guys.
You're more
Much
than
appreciated.
welcome. More than welcome. And
It's a
yeah,
pity I wasn't at school and I could do my biology homework. Oh dear, because
God, you should have
you're
set your
studying.
homework then.
Yeah, young people, it'll be good for them to watch this sometimes because it helps.
Yeah, I know. There's so much different ways to view the body and the universe, but in a lot of the time we're hearing it from one angle, one explanation, but no dots connected. We need
Mm,
to connect some dots to have some a bigger idea what's going on. This is the beautiful thing about the stuff we've been talking about. And there's so
mhm.
much more things, but we got time for that. We got time.
Yeah. So yeah, no, thank you all. And yeah, enjoy the rest of the year.
We see you in the new year.
All right then.